Well, I've made 2 takes, at least, about my supposed crimes and some that were actual crimes. I got probation, by the way. They don't call it probation anymore. Long since spent. And I was lying awake in bed last night because my dog has managed to break my rib yet again by leaping into my lap, his full-grown self. Nothing to be done about it. If I got to the doctor, they wouldn't do anything. They didn't before. Right, so I was laying in bed and I was thinking, how did all this come about? Because when I lived in Southampton, I was a law-abiding citizen. I trusted the police. I had respect for the police. I wouldn't have hesitated to go to the police. I would, yeah. In fact, I have refrained from reporting crimes here, precisely because I want no contact. Well, how the hell did this happen? And as much as I loved Godric, and I did, and I still do, I did used to refer to it as isolated. And when a friend saw it, she said, it's not as I expected. It's not that isolated, is it? Yeah, there are other houses around. And, you know, the villages are all sort of connected to each other pretty much. We're true to say that there's no shop, no pub, no cafe, no... There's nothing at all in the village of Godric in the way of socialising except for the Working Men's Club. And I only went twice. I never felt lonely, but I did use this word isolated. But of course, I had left behind my family, my friends, my entire support network, and I was, although I can appreciate that Americans and even Croatians would find this hard to understand, I was and am in a foreign country. The language is different. A Croatian guide, when I said I was English but lived in Wales, insisted that it was just an English dialect. And I said, don't try telling that to a Welsh person. It is not a different dialect, it is a different language. Very, very different. For example, letters that are consonants in English are vowels in Welsh. Try to get your head round YSTRADGYNLAIS, which is pronounced as nearly as I ever could get it. Astrid Gunlice. Also, we get this right now. An F is a V sound, whereas a double F is an F sound. It's actually it's a different alphabet even. A double L, depending on where it is in a word, could be a sort of cl sound. You've got to do the spitting part, which I can't never quite do. Or it could be a th sound. So it actually is a different alphabet, not just a different language. And unfortunately, because I moved around so much, and because I'm rather deaf, and because they only teach spoken Welsh, not written Welsh, which I get on much better if I can see it in writing. So the signposts help me an awful lot, because they're in both languages. So I've learned a lot more from signposts than I have from listening to the language. It's spoken too fast, and I can't hear it properly. So, although it would be true to say that I've never met a Welsh person who can't speak English and speak it fluently, I am in a foreign country and have been for 12.5 years. And you can very easily cut out of the conversation simply by the switch from English to Welsh. You'll be sitting talking to somebody and they switch to Welsh and that's it, you're out. And no, I'm not saying that the Welsh should not speak Welsh in their own country of Wales. I am saying that it's very easy to be excised from a conversation. Very mixed feelings towards Wales, and particularly this county. Very, very mixed. It breaks my heart to think about leaving it. It really, really breaks my heart to think about leaving it, but yet I've had some terrible times here. and that's what I'm kind of coming to. If I could just produce a photograph when I actually came in 2003, that would be good. One in 2004 would be quite good. And you could see the difference just looking at the photograph. Not just in age, weight, etc., but in who I am. Different person. Very, very different person. So it kind of starts with you've lost your peer group, you've lost everything. And then you're trying to survive in what I'm sorry is an alien environment. At first. Much less so now. Oh, it's actually sort of... Gosh, that's going to be more emotional, I think, than anything else I've ever said on here. I did, again, in my book, write down the sequence of events which I felt was a chain reaction. And of course, when I thought about the text that I sent, that he was a ghastly man, whether or not you think that's an excuse, he was an absolutely vile, vile man. And when I think about that text saying that I had a gun, etc., and it was a toy gun, I thought, oh my gosh. But before that, on Sunday, the 5th of September, 2004, I was approached by, in a little tiny hamlet called Llanfair, such a safe place that I would leave my handbag, well, whatever sort of bag, it wasn't really a handbag, or like a haversack, on a rock by the river while I went into the shop. It felt that safe to me. And that was very, very rudely. It couldn't have been a ruder awakening. Along came this old man on a motorbike, somewhere in his 70s. Of course, you couldn't immediately tell that. And he came across to chat, and I didn't think a damn thing of it. I thought, okay, people friendly around here, which they were. They were. You know, I don't want to paint a bad picture of the place. People would offer you lifts. They'd never seen you in their lives before, but they would offer you lifts and help you out, and that's why everything is so mixed for me. It's I thought I'd landed in heaven when I got here first of all. So over this man comes. His name is Bertie Buss. And I found that out through doing what a hostage does, i.e. I spent 8 hours talking to him. And I do regard it as a hostage situation, actually. I was there with my dog, whom I had adopted exactly 9 days before, and was already deeply in love with her, and wanted very much to protect her. Because what he did was he produced a real gun. And he proved that it was a real gun by unloading it, and he put the gun itself in my hand, so I could feel the weight of it, and then he unloaded it and put the bullets in my hand so I could see that they were real bullets, and then he reloaded. Of course, took the gun back. Well, if I'd had any sense, I would have thrown the fucking thing in the river. But I was immediately in the kind of mode that I used to go into with my father, really, which was appease him. say whatever he wants, do whatever he wants. He kept saying that God had sent him to kill people. And specifically, he wanted to kill gays. And I was staying in a lesbian commune up the hill from that village. God had sent him to kill people. He'd killed before, he said, and he could kill again. And I believed him. So I engaged him in conversation. And I learned all about the ills of his life. He had 4 daughters whom he seemed to hate, all bar one. He was a widower. I learned that he lived in Llanelli. His name, Bertie Bass. And a great deal more besides. And I didn't phone the police, even when he finally went, and it was a good 8 hours. I didn't dare. I could have run in those days, but not up the hill I couldn't. It was a very steep hill. And my dog, I didn't think she could, and I was afraid he would shoot her. Well, I went up the hill that evening, and 3 hills actually, to the commune. And I told them what had occurred, and they didn't believe me. So I never ever reported it to the police. I should have, of course. I think they did eventually get him. I remember seeing a headline about a pensioner who'd been arrested because of something to do with a gun, and I thought, that's him. They've got him. Thank God for that. He should be locked up. You know, in a mental ward. And the month after that, a member of the commune accused me of being evil over a misunderstood text, and it was a misunderstood text. And I can't really explain the effect of that, except that it kind of put me back where I'd been many, many years ago, that I was in the wrong no matter what I did. It was a very huge retrograde thing. And then there was another incident. I was still there in the December. And there was another incident where I got into an argument with the Christmas Day, with the only other woman on the land that day, so it was always her word against mine as to what occurred. Actually, nothing physical occurred, but there was a kind of a standoff. She was drunk, among other things. And the next day I left the commune in heavy snow with a suitcase and my dog. I don't know where the hell I thought I was going to walk to on Boxing Day. I'll cut that story short, it's too long. Oh, but of course by that time, as that was Christmas Day 2004, one incident had already occurred when a mobile phone was delivered to me by mistake, and because my 2 had been drowned the night before, I decided to regard it as a divine providence, and I kept it, and that's that story cut short, but I have told it before at far greater length. I genuinely couldn't find the intended recipient, which means in law that it wasn't theft, but morally dodgy grand. And a kind of just a downhill run, really. I mean, I entered in 2005 sex work because my daughter had got in touch 3 months after I got my dog and said, "Do you want to come back to Southampton and see your grandchildren?" Which I did, but I couldn't afford it. Actually, that was the first time I stayed in a B&B and didn't pay, in January 2005. And it wasn't planned. By no means was it planned. I simply panicked and left. And did feel very, very bad about it, because they were lovely people. And so, a few months later, I thought, okay, let's try sex work, and then I will be able to afford to go to Southampton. I won't have to do this. I won't have to drop any B&Bs of, goods and services. Well, not goods, just services. Nothing portable. And of course, at the same time that I was doing that, memories were flooding back. In 2006, no, early 2007, I finally hit the menopause. I was writing by then copiously about my father and my childhood, so I was being constantly triggered by that. And of course, retrospectively, I was being triggered also by the work that I was doing. And it certainly didn't mean to make it sound like a picnic. I got hurt a few times. Not beaten up, but manhandled badly enough to do me damage. And for some reason, I decided to come out as lesbian also around that time. In a very conservative Welsh area of Chapelites. So, I did put the cat among the pigeons. But I do remember the night after the first booking I had, which was the Primrose Path. It was sort of a dream booking, really. A nice man who I considered elderly at the time was approximately the age that I am now. And I stayed in his house, in fact, and was treated extraordinarily well. Beautiful shower, loads of thick towels. It was like a luxury hotel. And he paid me far more than I asked for. Far more. And yet, that next day, I actually stood by the harbour, and I remember kind of whispering to the water, "I am dead." So though I will and have I have defended and will defend anyone's right to do that work if they want to. I would never paint it as a picnic, ever. Even if the first booking appears like it, seems like it. So all of this is going on at the same time, actually. I'm writing about my past, I'm specifically my father and the murders he did commit, as well as the sexual abuse, etc., etc. I'm in that line of work. I've come out as lesbian. I've attracted unwanted attention from teenage gangs. Very unwanted in a very small place. well, what can I say? The primrose path, but and I did travel a lot of the world with it, which I wouldn't have done otherwise, and I can't say that I regret that. I'm dying too soon, as far as I'm concerned. I didn't do anything to ask the COPD. You might say nobody does, but I've never smoked. It is a direct result of the damage done to my lungs in childhood. And I haven't been treated for it at any time since the diagnosis, which is now 30 years ago, I think. So dying kind of a decade on from all of this, I can't say I regret the travel, for God's sake. And if I don't regret the travel, I can't regret the means of getting it, can I? And also a lot of little light bulbs went on, and I thought, oh, they treated me like this because. Which is not to say that it was right, the way that I was treated. And